Groups of light-footed Amazons. Sacred symbols, indelible and memorable, the so-called mnemonic signs. Favorites received them immediately after birth. As soon as a new baby was born, while its bones were still pliable, its soft head would be straightened by hand and forced to grow in length, restricted by bandages and other suitable devices. A high sloping forehead and elongated neck. According to one version, they emphasized the elite origin of the person. According to another, the squeezing of the skull resulted in heightened hearing and eyesight, both of which were valuable assets for a warrior. There is a third theory suggesting that this was a distinguishing characteristic which helped to differentiate one's own people from strangers. One of the main traditions of the Sarmatian tribe, which translates from Avestan language as Swordbearers, egg-headed Sarmatians, the children of Amazons and Scythians. Chapter 1. The Swordbearers. The underground tunnel was built during the reign of Emperor Nero. Cruel and inventive, year 63 BC. He issues a decree allowing free women of the Roman Empire to take part in gladiator fights. And for the next 350 years there were always such women, willing participants of the bloody games. These female warriors were called Amazons in the memory of the legendary nation which had founded the fierce tribe of the Swordbearers. Hellenes were coming back from a long journey. They landed on an unknown shore. There they encountered belligerent but beautiful women. These women were Amazons. However, according to other sources, Amazon women had always resided near the Hellenes. There is only one indisputable fact. They were at war with one another. According to Herodotus, after one victorious battle, the Hellenes were traveling by sea with the Amazons they had captured. During the voyage, captive women revolted and killed all of their captors. However, they didn't know how to navigate the vessel themselves, so the ship wandered across the sea until it washed up on the Scythian shores. Amazons came from ship to shore and began to roam the neighborhood. Then they encountered a herd of horses and seized it. Traveling on these horses, they began to plunder the Scythian land. Scythians were confused as to where these Amazons had come from. Taking them for young men, they entered into battle with them, and only after the fight, when the Scythians looked closely at the handful of dead bodies, they realized that those belonged to women. At the end, Scythians proved cleverer than the Hellenes. They conquered Amazon women with the power of love. Instead of fighting them, they wisely decided to marry them. This is how Sarmatians came to be, if Herodotus is to be believed. After the mass wedding, the new tribe changed their place of residence at once. The Swordbearers relocated to the Great Steppe. The legend of the Amazons has existed since the time of ancient Greece. When they first encountered Amazons on the northern shore of the Black Sea, they proceeded to go deeper into the steppe, and apparently that's where the legend comes from. But in reality, the legend is everywhere. Nomads had women warriors in their ranks, and these ladies participated in warfare. In the western, eastern and even central parts of Kazakhstan, archaeologists often discover physical proof of the existence of this warlike nation. For example, weapons. Of all Sarmatian things available to us, these long equestrian swords really stand out. Anyone can see that they have very short handles. In general, if you entertain the fact that they used some additional covers, the sword fits into the hand of an average-sized human quite well. The end of the 4th century BC. The ethnographic pride of the Pavlodar Local History Museum. 1,700 similar artifacts and other valuable units. According to researchers, this historical fund is priceless. When used as a spear, this weapon would crush the enemy with a forceful chopping blow. It's impossible to swing such a sword on dry land for an extended period of time. But the very fact that such swords were discovered on the territory of Pavlodar region suggests that part of the tribe had gone as far as the Irtysh River. Having relocated to the steppe, the descendants of Amazons adopted some nomadic practices such as wearing trousers and living in caravans. Their fundamental customs, however, remained unchanged. The power was still passed along the female line. They participated in war campaigns and went hunting with and without their husbands, and undoubtedly excited the minds of their contemporaries. Chapter 2: The Amazons of the Steppe. This is how they used to tie to their legs. Let's see what it looks like. Looks like an Amazon. Excellent. It does not constrict physical movement at all. Look at this, you can ride a horse and fight with it. Amazons have been one of the most popular topics in ancient literature. They inspired Homer, Lysias, Strabo and Plutarch, among others. Amazons have been a constant presence on the pages of novels and manuscripts. Theseus was married to the queen of the Amazons, Hippolyta. Achilles fought with Amazon warriors in the Trojan War. One of the labors of Hercules was associated with warrior maidens. The ancient hero was assigned the task of procuring the belt which belonged to Hippolyta. Some feared the mothers of the Sarmatians, deeming them overly masculine with excessive facial hair, while others adored these light-footed goddesses. Hordes of light-footed Amazons, maidens fearless in a fight. The first thing noted by authors is gynecocracy, aristocratic matriarchy. This nomadic society was dominated by women. According to Pliny the Younger, Sarmatians divided into several tribes, all of them subordinate to one queen: Roxolani, Alans, Iazyges and Aosi. As a matter of fact, this is precisely what ancient historians used to call the Soremates, those who are led by women. They obey their wives, their ladies, in all things. A young girl can get married only after she has killed the enemy, wrote ancient Greek historian Nicolaus of Damascus in his work Strange Customs, and archaeological findings confirm this fact. By some estimates, 1 of every 5 rich burial sites of the Scythian Sarmatian period is female. In the ancient mounds, one may find burial sites of women dressed in warrior attire with weapons. It was customary to bury their armor with them. Based on these findings, one can say that there were soldiers who fought together. In the circle of ancient scholars, there were 2 theories attempting to explain the militant demeanor of the fairer half of the Sarmatian tribe. According to one, rapid development of matriarchy was the result of an overwhelming number of men dying in never-ending battles, and the new generation was raised by new rules. The other theory belongs to Diodorus Siculus. According to him, a steppe queen proclaimed herself the daughter of the war god Ares and left housework to men. Later, she introduced compulsory military service among her people. All soldiers were female. Have you had to restore many weapons? Quite so, because they all carried and used weapons on a regular basis, almost all of them. Not just any weapons, but women's weapons specifically. They aren't much different from the ones that were used by men. The function of the weapons was the only factor. So they weren't overly concerned with the appearance of their weapons, were they? No, they weren't. They had to defend themselves. The men would leave and they would be attacked. They had to be able to defend themselves. Girls were not accustomed to idleness or wool processing, but to arms, horses and hunting, marvel ancient scholars. They ride horses and toss darts on horseback. They shoot bows. By the way, one of the most insistent myths is associated with this fact. The origin of the name Amazon stems from the Greek word Amazones, breastless. According to Greco-Roman data, it was customary to burn the warrior's right breast in early childhood so they could pull bows quickly and throw spears. There are many legends about it, but I have never met an Amazon with either her left or right breast missing. I don't know from which side they prefer to shoot. They say that the purpose of this operation was to improve combat skills, but I doubt the truthfulness of this suggestion. It would be similar to breaking a person's arm or leg to improve their archery skills. This myth is yet to be confirmed by archaeological evidence. However, the fact that female warriors belong to a special social class is evident in the shape of the skull. It's slightly elongated. Archaeological research supports this notion. It is believed that the deformation of the head could provoke not only increased aggression, but sometimes light epileptic seizures and hallucinations. Those who did not make good warriors became priestesses of the great mother goddess, defender and archer, the far-shooting Heracage. Chapter 3. The Shaman Warriors. A great number of spears have been broken against the mysteries of the steppe Amazons' martial art. In the war against Cyrus, the Amazon army, consisting of 300,000 men and 200,000 women, was led by Sparetra. She defeated the Persians and liberated her husband. The beautiful Tomiris ensured an even more decisive rebuff to the Persian king. The steppe aristocrat with Cyrus's head in her hands was the favourite image of Rubens. And by the way, telling the warrior that he fought like an Amazon was considered the highest form of praise in the Roman Empire. These women participated in the war and combat alongside their men. This was a tradition that existed since the earliest times. There was no division into women and men. Anyone who knew how to use a weapon took part in the hostilities. The division was not gender-based at the time. People were divided into warriors and non-warriors. Despite their fierce, outwardly demeanor, Sarmatian Valkyries were wildly popular among other nomadic tribes as brides. In particular, Scythians wanted to procreate only with Amazon women. Such marriages were believed to ensure healthy offspring. Amazons exceed other women in health, height and beauty, intelligence and wit. The great Macedonian conqueror himself became a temporary husband to one of the earliest feminists, Phalestria. She came to him herself, bringing with her 300 military girlfriends. Solely for the sake of genetics, the fruit of love between such greatest individuals would surpass all known mortals, decided the Amazon. Afterwards, she headed home to Sarmatia with royal honours and gifts. Ancient records contain no mention of this union resulting in a child. What they do contain is the most controversial description of Sarmatian women's clothing. These figures are exact copies of the stone sculptures found in the desert near the mounds. The clothing, the belt, the sword and the dagger called akinak are clearly visible. They are all Sarmatian objects. Sarmatians used to dress and arm like this. These items help to identify the artifacts and the time of manufacture of these sculptures, which is about 2,500 years. Apart from such masculine clothing, written sources claim that Amazons favored head-to-toe chitons, mitres for the headdress, as well as more revealing outfits. With their breasts exposed, arms and knees bared, they fired temptation and lust in their male adversaries, fumes ancient writer and theologian Eusebius Hieronymus. They certainly wore various kinds of clothing. Being flirty women of fashion, they enjoyed all kinds of jewellery and trinkets. Female burials of the Sodomites are notable for their wealth. Kargalin findings from the Shaman burial near Almaty. The famous golden diadem. Its ornament is done in the typical style of the late Scythian period. The gold is decorated with turquoise, which was considered a magical stone in ancient times. It was found under mysterious circumstances in the mountains of Transili-Alatau at the altitude of over 2,000 meters. It is no less mysterious in essence. Winged tigers, bird people, horses on a stand shaped like a Chinese mushroom, dragons, and not a single real-life creature. This magical artifact could only belong to her. There is no reliable data suggesting that any important religious functions belonged to men in the Sodomite society. Shamans and warriors, queens and goddesses, the Amazons of the Great Steppe.